Hello, y'all. How are you? My name is Marianne Pelletier, the Managing Director of the Stockpile Analytics Group. Greg?
I'm Greg Duke, Database Director and longtime employee of Stockpile as well.
And Ruthie, playing double agent today.
I am. I'm an associate for prospect development with the Stockpile Analytics Group.
Adrienne says, now that she's here, we can get started. So if you're new to being with us, this is actually a chat. So that's why I've got on my right-hand screen, that's why I keep looking that way. I've got you all up. And so you're welcome to, if you're eating your lunch and don't want to be watched eating your lunch, then I understand your camera being off, but feel free to unmute, interrupt, discuss, chat. Also, we usually get a lot of spirited discussion in the chat, people with each other, people with the group, people with us. So I really only got 5 or 6 slides. So the first thing to know is that your boss is a little distracted. Even last night when I had to check some details for a case study I was writing, I was speaking to the vice president for my client at 6 o'clock at night. And she was all over the map because her job right now is to breathe down the necks of her gift processors and say how much is coming in, how much is coming in, how much is coming in, right? They may be on visits, they may be trying to get those last minute verbal commitments, but really what they're doing is doing a lot of counting over and over again. Are you all experiencing that in your shops? And feel free to comment on whether or not you are going into the office these days or working remote. Greg, are you experiencing that with our clients?
Oh, I was about to say absolutely. It's near the end of our fiscal year. It was my main client. It is very, very busy. Everyone is, as you say, all over the map right now.
Oops.
Okay. There's
Sorry.
sorry. There's a couple of old movies where they have a little girl about 8 years old in a little dress sitting there with her white knee socks, and she's going, "It's just got to work. It's just got to." And I've got to go get a clip of that because that to me is like the the greatest example of magical thinking, right? Of course, in the movie, it works, and that's what we grew up on. Oh, it works if you just say, it's got to work, right? Or what's her name on Run, Lola, Run, where she screams and breaks all the windows, and so the roulette wheel lands exactly where she needs it to. All right, you have 2 weeks left. What can you do in 2 weeks? Oh, there's a hybrid 3 days a week. Oh, Adrienne, are you going to be annoyed having to work in the office July 1st? She says yes. You know what? Greg and I went to a conference, and I'm telling you, it's been 2 years since I had that much laundry on Saturday. So
that's a good way of putting it. Yes, yes.
Sorry?
That's a good way of putting it, I was going to say.
Yeah. Get your dry cleaning coupons out and learn how to say good morning while you're still in a coma. Okay. But you do want to look for opportunities among your warm calls. And that means like people you can go back to, not the people that you used to going back to, but let's take a look at some overlooked prospects, okay? The big one is the current client that I have. I do some prospect development for them, some research for them, and some analytics for them. I'm pretty much helping them with operations. Excuse me, to strategic operations, right? So if I hear that one of them is on a trip, I actually load them up. They use Microsoft Teams. I send them a list through Microsoft Teams and say, these are other people you should visit while you're there. Okay. And it's something that is a good, a researcher who is not going to get into too much trouble for doing that, should be able to do. I mean, I should be knowing about visits before they happen, but we're still trying to build me into that culture. Okay. It's time for your gift officers to make phone calls, and it's definitely time for you to send alerts. Mr. Smith just announced that he's selling his company. We should talk to him about helping reduce his tax burden by making a gift to us, right? Right, charitable remainder unit trust. Sell your company, tuck it into a CRUT, and the CRUT goes to us when you die, and you save a lot in taxes, and you get an income. Let's do some of that, okay? Questions or comments? Are you guys doing that right now, or are you just hiding out till it's over? Yes, I'm being provocative on purpose. Don't make Adrienne do all the work. Somebody talk to me.
Yeah, it's a quiet group today, but it's a little smaller too here. So for us, we have a little different situation. It's a church organization. There's not a huge amount of pressure to meet certain certain thresholds. So that makes it a little less stressful this time of year. But yeah, definitely the CRUT's something we try to focus on for folks either during life or after life, or testamentary CRUTs for people that don't trust their kids to take care of their money for them.
Right. You won't need that real estate when you go to heaven. So you should leave it to us. Or we can help the kids retain it, right? So the problem if real estate is the bulk of your estate, there has to be a way that you can retain it to pass it on, especially if it's, say, a ranch or something with mineral rights or something with fracking rights, right? You want to be able to pass that on whole. And that was one of the first plan giving tricks I learned, is that the real estate gets gifted to your organization, right? Is it a church or just an association, Ruben?
Yeah, it's we're actually the national headquarters for our synod. So yeah, it's a conglomeration, about 1,200 congregations.
Oh, great. Okay, so to your congregation, and then the kids have life insurance proceeds to buy it back. Yeah, that's an excellent. And if you're out in, I'm not sure where you are, but if you're out in farming country, anything where we're talking about hundreds of acres, like my neighbor down the street has 800 acres. She doesn't have any kids, so that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, farmland for us is a big deal, and we deal a lot with folks trying to figure out what to do with the farm, how to maximize it, how to reduce taxes, etc. And we're actually a nationwide organization, so we've got staff around the country, but we're based here in Wisconsin.
I see. Yeah, so you have everywhere and everything. That's great. Oh, so you get to visit Florida in the winter?
Well, I wish I could visit those, but no, I'm just stuck in the office when I'm not at home. I don't travel anymore. They don't trust me to do
that. Me neither. I don't go to Florida either. Okay, so one of the ways to identify prospects that may be solicitable at this time is just find someone whose giving is less than half or less of the capacity. Once you identify these people, you can say, I believe you under-solicited Mrs. Smith. She can actually make a gift of, say, $1 million, and you asked her for 25,000. Do you want to go back for the other 975,000, or would you just like to go back and ask her to give again? Remember that for very wealthy people, a token gift is $100,000. They'll give you $100,000 and they'll see how you steward them, and then they'll come back with a $50 million. I've seen it. I have seen it happen. I'm thinking about a very specific situation where that happened, and it's great, right? So this is something that you can do to help, because they're just sitting there going, "Oh my God, what do I do? What do I do?" It's like, "Oh, I should talk to this one, this one, this one, this," right? And alert systems, if you send alerts out, then you're reminding people, "Hey, this is a good time to go talk to him," or, "Hey, there's a lot of actors in my current client, so this is not a good time to talk to him because he's filming," right? The other is think about deferrals, right? They said no before, but they didn't close the relationship. And so this middle column, deferrals, right? These people, so the gift people, we're looking at whether or not they gave to capacity. The deferral people, we're looking at whether or not we can go back now. Is it time, right? Do they have the money, right? That's what your research and alert systems will help you with. Or do they feel better? Or do they need to be asked by somebody else? Okay. And I've throughout my career, I've done lots of studies on the gender of the gift officer versus the gender of the prospect. Was never significant, right? We didn't have to switch genders, okay, to get a warmer relationship. But sometimes you know, you've got an athletics guy going to talk to somebody who really wants to do a scholarship on teaching poetry. But we don't know that, and they're not going to tell an athletics guy that, right? But we're making assumptions based on giving or based on primary relationship, and then we go in and then, you know, we have to find out. That's what the exploration is. Okay. And the question is, do you really want to look at this not only for those major gifts, but also for any kind of gift? So if I refused you last August, did I tell you why? And then did you keep that information? That's the other problem, right? Is anybody tracking this? Excuse me. Is anybody tracking this kind of stuff? What is this in Razor's Edge, Greg and Ruthie?
You'd have to create an attribute for it, really,
Is-
or
Isn't this proposals, or what are they calling proposals now?
the web view calls it opportunities, because that's what Salesforce calls it.
Okay.
But you can track it in proposals. It depends on where you got with like at what point they refused. Like they might have from the get-go said, this is not a good year, come back, and you didn't even get to ask. So you might not have tracked it as a proposal. So you could track it in proposals and or in attributes.
Right.
A lot of times when I've done the project management side of that to track why they said no,
Mhm.
I actually have like, did they refuse personal reasons, refuse business reasons, refuse, like, just so you'd have some category. Then you could go back and look into the actions and get the details on it. But you could have a quick look and say, like, why did they refuse?
Right, because these are actually result codes. And this was a PeopleSoft that I took this example from. These are result codes. Yeah, and then I would, you know me, I would use text mining to figure out the why. Yeah, cool. All right, Adrienne's gonna go try it. Okay. The other thing is, where are the opportunities? So are there prospects, this gray? Wasn't that nice of me to put up a nice color key? I'm sorry. The gray are the not qualified yet, and the yellows are the deferrals, okay? There's an opportunity here and all these prospects. Oh, I did put up a color code, I'm sorry. I found it. You know what happened? I took Edward Tufte's course on visual representation of data. So I fixed this to make them look better. Now I can't find anything. But these not been solicited yet. Why not? Right? And this might be if a gift officers look, I filled out all of my work plan, right? And do you all have work plans? Should I put up polls? Do you all have work plans for your frontline staff?
How do you define a work plan?
Yes. So a work plan means a gift officer says, this is what I'm going to do with each of my 150 prospects. I'm going to target an ask to this one, a cultivation from qualification to cultivation to this one. And then I'm going to raise this much amount of money based on it. So we have one yes, two yeses. Okay. So this is the question, right? Okay, Ruben's with us. This is the question, right? So you have all these prospects that are in qualification. You can there's no risk to qualifying them in the last 2 weeks of June. There just isn't. All right. And that's my slideshow. So talk to me about some of the things that you're doing for last minute prospecting.
Well, we're just starting to have a lot more events, in-person events.
Yeah.
So there's the opportunity of looking at the people who have said they're coming to the events and spotlighting people, you know, that might be the best to focus on during that event.
Yeah, I agree. More than once, I have measured that if you don't talk to them within 30 days of their event attendance, your opportunity to get a gift goes way down. Yep. So that's a great idea. Who came to an event in the last 4 weeks? Let's call them up. Thank you for coming to the event. Did you enjoy meeting super duper person? Or did you find it interesting? Were you as excited as I was about, you know, the women building a she shed? Right. Okay.
Ruben, go ahead.
Sure. So, I mean, as I said, we don't focus quite as much on the end of the fiscal year, but
Mhm.
our folks are just getting in. We've only been really focused on prospect. I mean, kind of analytical prospecting for the last 9 months. So we're just kind of getting started
Mhm.
on things on our end. So it's kind of getting people in the habit of even being focused and just using the data that I give them. There's still a tendency sometimes to kind of just go back and do things the old way. That kind of hit
Right.
and miss, just stop and see whoever kind of jumps out at you.
Yeah, it's
So
like you can't tell me what to do. I'm a gift officer. This is an art. Right.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
process, but we're coming along. But it's still a work in progress.
Great. There's always that tension. Every time I speak, I have to rip gift officers, but there's always that tension between you're not giving me good prospects and you're not working the prospects that I'm giving you. Okay. Excuse me. It's almost like dealing with a child with a fussy palate, right? Who's not used to, eat it or go hungry, right? And so if the child is offered lots of different choices, then it's really hard to sit them down and say, you're going to eat the broccoli, right? And I'm talking from experience. So that's one of the things that we run into is, but now that we're bringing in accountability, because we have to show a return on investment, we're getting pushback, and we're getting it, not management, but us. Although I've seen management get it too.
Yeah, and this is going to be the first year we're not grading them on metrics, but at least going over the metrics with them fairly specifically. And yeah,
Right.
the accountability part is a problem. They're used to just kind of winging it and doing things their way, and
Yep.
Some are adjusting better than others.
Yep. I don't think you understand. I'm a gift officer. You should be providing. If I need services, I'll click my fingers and you will come. Yep. So let me ask you something though. For a religious organization, do you feel the kind of tension for giving around Christmas? I'm sorry, are you a Christian? Is it a Christian-based
It
organization?
is. It's actually a Lutheran organization. Yeah, I
Lutheran,
mean,
sorry.
yeah, we see a big push at the end of the year, like a lot of organizations, I'm guessing, and yeah, the Christmas focus is a big one. Easter is a big one for us too.
Yeah.
But it's as I said, we take it's been a little. I've only been with this organization a little over a year, so my previous incarnation is much more focused on dollars. Here it's more focused just on helping people do what they want to do, and so it becomes a little more laid back, donor driven versus us really pressing for gifts, and we've been very successful, so it's worked out. But yeah, it's a little different atmosphere than you'd see in a lot of organizations, I think, just because of the way we're set.
Yep. Success is the enemy of efficiency. Yep.
Yep.
It works. Why? What is it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
And that's been part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. But there was a management book that came out and said, if it ain't broke, break it. And what you're describing is why.
Yeah.
I think that
and for us, it was we worked with Ben's Whaley Flessner before I came on, and that was their recommendation. Hey, you gotta bring in a researcher. You gotta be focused on doing things a little more methodically and focus on the better prospects just instead of hit and miss. So like I say, still transition, but I think we're coming along.
Okay, great. You were brought in to make it better, but they didn't realize that meant making them better.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Let's hear from someone else. What are you doing for last minute prospecting, or are you hiding out? Shut off my phone. Sorry.
I was going to mention that my client is actually doing something I think is kind of unusual, but to see if it's going to work. And they're doing like a 2-week phone-a-thon at the end of this fiscal year to call Libunts and Cybunts.
Great. What is that like? I picture them getting on the phone and going, ah!
Well, I did give them a list of 2,500 people, and there are 3 callers, so I don't think they're going to get through everybody, but it's a good practice run, I think, for their phone-a-thons in the future.
See, and this is what Greg and I are both into analyzing sports, right? And so this is the thing about the game Moneyball, about baseball. you don't want to have all the players and run them all through until you win the game. You want to reduce the number of players that you're paying for and have the ones that are going to win the game, right? And so when you give people a list of 2,500, but your client's database is how many people?
180,000 total, I think.
Yeah, see? And so you brought it down to less than 10% of the entire database. You said this 10%, right? And so their chance of success is much higher with each one. And that's why we recruited Ruthie, frankly, to help clients become much more efficient in portfolio. It's not, I work for a guy that said, you know, the only thing information a gift officer needs is a name and a phone number. And that's nonsense. What we need to put in a gift officer's portfolio are not only prospects who are capable of giving, but who are likely to take a visit. So
just curious, Greg, do you prioritize those 2,500 so that they hit certain folks first before going?
Yes, we've been trying to prioritize people who have given many years consecutively. And also we're trying obviously to prioritize people who've given a little bit more in the past. Obviously, if someone gives $10 a year for 9 years, it's not a great prospect, but someone who gave, 1 year last year $1,000, that's a much better person to call. And I mean, right, we're in a kind of unusual situation right now that we're rebuilding really the Phone-a-thon program. They had one 3 or 4 years ago. They're trying to rebuild it with new software. So they thought kind of a small 2-week program with a relatively small number of people would be a good way to kind of build into that. So then in the fall, we're going to have our major Phone-a-thon for the first time in a few years.
So with that Phone-a-thon, you're able to track the results of that to see what percentage of the 2,500 you've gotten through, what percentage was successful.
Right, we're actually using Blackbaud guided fundraising for the first time. And that's one of the reasons that we're trying to use that for the first time. It does track that kind of information. How many people got a call, how many people responded positively, how many people responded negatively. We can track that information and analyze it when the Phone-a-thon is done.
That is cool.
Yeah, it's like I say, this is the first time I've actually used it. I've known about it and read about it for some time. It's the first time I've actually kind of put it into progress.
is anybody else using is anybody else doing Phone-a-thons? Like the minute Princeton announced, was it Princeton? No, was it Princeton or the guys in Stanford who said, we don't do Phone-a-thons, and all of a sudden they went, everybody stopped doing them.
Yeah, that's Stanford, though. I mean, they can just go to Larry Ellison and ask for another $100 million. I think most institutions, I think we still do need to contact. It's their best way of contacting prospects directly, or at least a large number of prospects directly.
Well, depending on the age of the folks you're trying to contact, like older folks, a Phone-a-thon, younger folks, you might do like text to give. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think
Same idea.
You have to look at the demographics, definitely. Yeah. And that's something I've said to my client, that a lot of people my age and younger, and I'm older than I look, we have cell phones, and when we get a call from a phone we don't recognize, we don't pick it up. So you're right. I think it's Phone-a-thon now is mainly for an older generation, the landline generation mainly, I think.
Maybe.
Some people still answer their phones. Depends.
Yeah.
But if I see Smith College is calling, I'll usually answer for their phone.
Absolutely.
And they still do Phone-a-thon because they call me every year.
Yeah. That's right, Adrian. That's what researchers do.
We found you, Adrian.
We find phone numbers.
So let's talk about it. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, Ruben had mentioned that we were talking about an alert system Is this automated or manual process?
It's actually push technology. This is an expression from the 90s. So I'm going to see, I have all these alerts. I'm going to create alert.
If you're telling us to see something, are you sharing your screen?
Oh, probably not. Thank you for catching that. So here I'm creating an alert. And so if there was something here about Marianne is selling her, I'd be like, oh yeah, this is all the right Marianne's. And I'm building these one at a time. I'm
So it's
gonna create
Google
the alert.
Alerts. It's not in the software that you would use for your database.
That's correct. Yep, and then I receive the alert, I process the alert, and then I add relevant data to the database.
Gotcha.
Notice that I cleverly did not show my screen when I had my clients' names up. But yeah, and so I spent some hours doing this manually for the prospects for 3 different gift officers. So it's 450 prospects. No, 4 different gift officers. So it's about 600 prospects. Yeah, and this is, if you think about this, so let's do Elon Musk. Oh, Greg, who's the guy you just said? Jeff Bezos?
I think so, yeah.
See, so if I'm the university, what is it? Yeah, no, what were we just talking about? Yale, Princeton, Stanford.
Stanford. Oh, he's talking about Larry Ellison. That's it. Yeah.
Sorry, Larry Ellison.
Yeah. He's the one who gives to Stanford.
So the question, one of the cool things is, oh, he's leaving Tesla's board of directors,
Huh. What's that?
right? So I would send this alert over to his gift officer and say, he's leaving Tesla's board of directors. It's up to you if you want to send him a, a note saying, we appreciate the whatever you stand behind. Right?
And the Google Alerts, they work pretty well. I mean, they push
Mhm.
that information to you, then so you see that.
Yep.
Okay.
I can show it to you in my folder. I have all these Google alerts. I'm going to show it to you briefly, then I'm going to honor the client's privacy.
Even though it's recorded, but yeah.
We'll just censor that.
I can show Gayla how to put a big black over that.
Yeah.
Nice job, Ruben. Yeah. So what else?
I've seen the Google Alerts, but I've never really used them much, but it probably would be something to spend some time to set up.
So in a large shop, right? So there's a few people here who are in larger shops. I think Kimberly is, and I think Kim is. In a larger shop, your best way to do things is that a researcher is assigned to 4 gift officers. Okay. And then, and of course, we've lost that ratio 1 to 4. I ran a shop where we had 1 to 22, and I was like, really? You can't really do Google Alerts for that. You can, you pretty much just say you have to pick your top 10 or your focus 50. You can't do all 150, because all you do then all day is manage alerts. And then somebody says, let's invent an administrative assistant position where all they do all day is manage alerts. And then you lose the decision-making research part of that, because often when I process an alert, I will use that alert as an opportunity to assess the prospect's wealth and update the rating. And I've done that. I've taken prospects from 100,000 to $1 million ratings going, because Form 4s pop out. What Google Alert will send me alerts when the Form 4s get published, because the news media picks up that, Susie Q sold, or bought up 100,000 shares of her own company. And that's for investors to be alert about. That's for me to know that she had cash, but also that she has all this investment now. So it adds work to, I get paid by the hour. It adds work to my day. but it also helps me contribute directly to the process. The catch is you want your communications people, communications and publications people to be doing alerts on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. If you do have a music school, MySpace. God, in 2012, I wrote this social media prospecting white paper for academic impressions. It's probably way out of date by now, but some of the techniques might be good. I don't even know if they publish it anymore. If they, when I was at Cornell, I worked with a gentleman named Keith Hannon, who was always sending me tweets. Hey. And so that not only went into the record, but went up to the gift officers, you know, this gentleman published a new book. You got to congratulate him. And it's a way to get in to see him, you know. Oh, hey. I mean, I still get birthday coupons from a store in Michigan that I visited once. And when I'm back in that town in Michigan, I will stop in that store and say, I have been getting your birthday greetings for the last 5 years. Thank you so much. And here's my coupons, and may I have some tea? You know, it's the, you know, it's the way that we do things. It's the expected personal relationship, right? Because you know how often we get spammed. Dear friend, you care very much about the environment. That's why you want to give to the environment that has nothing to do with you or your neighborhood. Like me. Right? What else are you all doing for last minute prospecting? Who wants to talk about prospecting in general? Oh, there's
Yeah,
some notes here.
there's some notes in the chat. Have you ever used TalkWalker alerts?
No, I don't know TalkWalker. Can we look? Do y'all mind if we just go look?
Elizabeth, how did you find out about TalkWalker?
I used them at my last position. I use them now too. I don't remember how I found out about them, but they work better than Google Alerts for me. They find more things. And like my inbox is filled every morning with both Google Alerts and TalkWalker. Sometimes they find the same things, and oftentimes TalkWalker finds more things than Google. Wow. And it's also free.
That was my next question. You saw me going there.
I saw everybody going there. Yeah, okay. No, they're also free.
Okay.
So, you know, we put in some of our folks, and we also put in Deerfield Academy as the, you know, you put it in quotes. So you don't get a lot of like, I actually didn't put it in quotes. So I get a lot of, you know, Deerfield school or Deerfield, you know, high school, something. But yeah, they're great.
So that's when you get to practice your Boolean logic skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That too.
Well, TalkWalker, I'm going to go look at that.
Yeah.
And then Amanda uses LexisNexis. I miss having access to LexisNexis for news alerts.
Yeah, we have those too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 30 years ago, I had a client who was trying to build a new art museum, Western art. And they said, can you find me art collectors? And I was all over LexisNexis for that. Google didn't exist at the time. Thanks, Elizabeth. That was great. And then Terry says at Smithsonian, the team of 8 each covered 3 museum organizations. She served 15 gift officers. Yep. Several hundred names in Wellside. Right. Now, to me, this is a rainy Sunday gig thing to sit there and type in names. When the alerts come through, I've got to be timely with them, because you want to give them an opportunity to do good things with their money before they think of something else, before everybody else calls them, because you know everybody's going to call them. Hey.
Yeah, on the morbid side of alerts, I use the obit messenger through Legacy, because if you know that someone's relative has passed, there might be a windfall of cash coming their way. So if you know what their mother's, like, if you have a system where you have names of their relatives because they're a Legacy alum, if you're in a school or something, it's a great way to know that they may be coming into an inheritance of some sort.
So when I, that 1 3-month period where I thought about becoming a life insurance agent, I was doing raw phone calls. Hi, I'd like to congratulate you on the birth of your new child. This woman goes, you're the 7th phone call I've gotten today. What is this? You put it in the paper and all of a sudden everybody wants to talk to me about life insurance. You know, and before she hung up, I said, would you like me to tell you why? Fine, you know, it was New Hampshire, so we just were direct with each other. So, well, you know, when you give birth, if there are 7 events in your life that are significant and change your insurance needs, one of them is when you give birth to a baby. Thank you. Click, you know. So, yeah, but yeah, there's a life-changing event, and we should have. The problem is, right? So I belong to the Church of David Dunlop, right? I believe in the things that he taught, right? You need that relationship beforehand. If you ignore my existence until I get that windfall, I'm going to feel like that woman did. So, yeah, but if I have a relationship with you and there's a windfall and you send you know, I'm so sorry for the loss of your mother-in-law, I'm going to feel warmer when the gift officer comes around in 6 months to talk about opportunities now that I have an estate. That's careful work, isn't it? Maggie, I love your picture.
Thank you. It's from the Queen Wilhelmina Garden in Golden Gate Park, San Francisco.
Oh. Oh, I have not visited Golden Gate Park yet. I've ridden across Golden Gate Bridge only once.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, come on out. It's here waiting for you.
It was unnerving. I guess so long and swingy. Okay. What else do we want to talk about prospecting? Everybody says, look, Marianne, I blocked my lunch hour. I said I'd be in a meeting. Just entertain me. Is that where we are? Because I can. Go ahead.
So when I used to do, and I still do it, just not for them, prospect management for a particular organization. When I worked with them, I would set up a monthly meeting with one-on-one with the gift officer. And this is, you might need a slightly big shop to do this. I think we were at a shop of 40, and there were 3 of us who did sort of the research, project management side of the house. But you could pull it off in a smaller shop. You just have to be very strategic about your time. But I would meet one-on-one with each gift officer each month and have done just a small bit of research on certain prospects. I'd look at their portfolio. I'd sort of do a quick analysis, like how many people are in cultivation, how many are in solicitation, how many are in stewardship, who are these people who've been sitting in this little pool too long, and then look at certain groups each month and just bring them maybe three or 5 names that I'd done a smidge of research on and say, this person's been sitting in this pool for a while, but here's some new things you didn't know about them. And that's where I'd use like the legacy things, Talkwalker, Google Alerts. We didn't have LexisNexis, but we had, you know, whatever alerts I could get. So I would use those alerts and then just a little prospecting and say, here's why you should be going to see them. So next time you're in San Francisco or wherever they were going, like these are the people to go and see. Likewise, I mean, like these are the people who no one's reached out to, and this is, you know, someone that you really should. And here are 5 strategies for how you can get in the door. You know, based on what I knew, being someone who never gets in the door with people because that's not my job. But having worked with them, I understood how their minds worked. I'm like, if you want to get in the door with this person, don't go in and talk to them about athletics. Yes, they used to be an athlete, but what they really like is art. So you need to talk to them about art. So start sending them articles saying, here's some great art stuff we're doing at the school. Here's some great art exhibits that I see in your area. Maybe you want to go check out. So I'd give them all these funny little strategies and they always looked at me weird, but sometimes they really worked.
Yep.
If you tried a few of them, like you find the one that resonates, you give it a go and go for it. So I would work with those gift officers to help give them the strategy and arm them for bear. So when they went out, they could actually at least get in the door, if not maybe someday get a gift.
I agree. When I sat around in the gift officer story hour, do you guys do that? Where gift officers sit around and say, this is what I'm working on and this is where I'm stuck? Almost all the time where they were stuck was getting the prospect to talk to them, getting a hold of the prospect, getting to, you know, and so, yeah, congratulations on your new book. My my gift officer from my alma mater is great at that. She sent me a special note. We thought you know, I want to make sure you're here. I mean, she blind copied me, but I want you to hear directly that, you know, our president is moving on and I feel special. And, you know, and you saw from an earlier, I don't know if it was presentation or water cooler chat where I talked about how she and I lived in the same dorm anyway. So she was way ahead of the curve. All right, so what is the, so this is harking back to some of the comments Ruben made, right? So I'm the star, leave me alone, or I'm on a team that has to resort, you know, work with everyone, right? And where's your fundraising? And then does your annual giving try a hand off prospects? Right, you know, the prospect theft where you get asked to participate in that. I have been asked to participate in helping steal prospects from major gifts into principal gifts, right? And then what is it that you have as the threshold to put somebody in a portfolio, and what does the gift officers have as a threshold to put somebody in a portfolio, and can they articulate it? Right, and that's what Ruben was saying. I know what I'm doing, leave me alone, right? And then how do you identify your prospects? And then this is the alert systems, okay? So this is the other thing that we're talking about. When we talk about prospecting, what if this is the right time of year to talk to accountants, but not the right time of year to talk to people who run summer camps, right? I once had a prospect who ran the local, you know, the local takeout food, you know, fried fish. We weren't going to talk to her in the summer. We'd have to wait till January when she came back from vacation, right? And so how do you get to these people? Okay. And then campaign phase, let's ignore all that. Okay. And then we are tied to the economy. Right now, what's going on in the economy? Is anybody going to give any money away? Who wants to tell me what's going on in the economy right now?
The short sellers are going to give us some money.
Right. The S&P 500 fell by more than 10% yesterday. And so did Bitcoin. Bitcoin fell by 14% yesterday.
They feel poor even if they're not.
Right, exactly, exactly. My wealth went down $3 million. Oh my God. Oh, okay, so you only have 30 million left? Right, yeah, right?
Yep.
It's hard for us to be sympathetic. But what were they going to do with that $3 million? Is that what they're going to give to you? Right? And then, yeah, this is the, okay. So this is also the thing that's happening right now is inflation is so big that nobody knows what they have left, right? This is an older presentation. And then the 1% are gaining power. Okay, let's do this. Let's see. This is 2012, so that's boring. This is 2012. Okay. So and then the next thing is the escalation of giving. So one of the things I've always talked about is, you know, you've probably heard me 12 times talk about the velocity measure, last full year's worth of giving divided by an average of the prior 3 years worth of giving. If it's 2 or more, that prospect is worth looking at. Okay. And then anyone who's giving is higher than the average giving for your entire database. Anybody who's giving is unless, okay, that's the velocity thing I just described. And then anybody who pops up the recognition level. You know, I choose what recognition level I want to be in, according to how visible I want to be, according to what tchotchke I want to get returned, according to who I'm competing with on the list, right? My sister is a very chatty person. So one way I keep her distracted is when we go to the theater, I show her the donor list. I say, find men's names that don't have a woman attached to them. Now she thinks that we're going to run around the theater meeting them, but it keeps her quiet for 5 or 6 minutes so I can look at my program. Okay, so, okay, and anybody who's giving increases for 3 or 4 more years. These are all reports, right? Recognition level. The gift triggers, stock gifts have always in every shop I've worked in have been a significant relationship to major gifts. Okay. The donor advised fund business is big business now. We even have, you know, people selling us subscriptions to go find people in there, right? And then a high net worth account, I used to call these metal accounts, right? It's a platinum account and the gold account and the something account, right? Once they have that high net worth account, if they're sending a check through, that's where your gift processor. So already got communications helping you prospect. Gift processors, they're methodical people, but wouldn't they love to also get a pat on the head, right? Oh, I found that guy, right? And then top 5% of your database for annual giving. And then when I make a gift through the Stop Hell company, you better believe I get screened. He puts on a Stop Hell check, the organization screens me, okay? And then if the green here are people who make gifts at the level that I'm looking for, and the red are people who do not. So if I take everybody's job title and I split out and I get rid of the of and the and the, right? And there's ways to do that. Then I've got presidents and attorneys give and don't give, right? But principals give more often than executives. Okay, I don't know how I would have a job title that has requested in it, but that's okay. Wouldn't that be fun? Fun skill to learn on a Sunday? Okay. And then here's phrase clause. Okay, so here's transportation consultant, business owner, managing partner. Notice that I all capped all this to get all that nonsense out of the way, and I took out all the punctuation. Okay, and so what are your top lists? We used to, in Boston, we used to do the top 10, whatever. And at some point at Ninja, nobody wanted those lists anymore. They're like, we get them, right? Standard and Poor's, Dunn's used to have the education, right? So if you're a college, it's easy to find these people. Venture capitalist used to, right? And then your state's foundation list. If your programmer is on board and needs something to do, you go, look, download our database to a secure place, download the state's foundation list and all their trustees, or the IRS 990s. Compare the two lists and find me people who have foundations that we didn't know about. Right? And then stockholders through your screening product. Okay, and then all those wealth lists. Okay, and so this is where I go prospecting in LinkedIn. Now in LinkedIn, it's not just colleges, right? The college that I went to, but it's also what I'm interested in. Okay, so anybody who spent any time with me knows that I'm interested in Habitat because I've been on the board for 6 years, on my local chapter board for 6 years. So anybody who's into Habitat is going to find me hooked up to Habitat on LinkedIn. Okay, and then notice I'm saying use Python to get the ADV form. Same thing. Give me all the names out of these ADV forms, right? Carl Sidlacek at Cornell did this for Cornell, and compare it to our database. Who do you have? ADV form, those are financial advisors. Right? iWave is good for this. I want that list you made for Nedra, Marianne. Oh, Adrian, was I in the middle of something? I'm sorry, I just got lost. Help me out. Oh no, I didn't make the list, Adrian. Thank you for asking about that. Boston Business Journal had the top 10 whatever every week. I mean, at one point it was the top 10 gay bars in Boston. Top 10 cemeteries, top 10. And so they would have the, oh, okay. So they, yeah, do they still do the lists? I love Adrienne, she just answers everything. They still do the lists. Zoom info used to be free and now it's not. No one will listen to me. Make it an alert. Just say, oh, I got this, you know, one of the things you want in your database is you want the ability to say, I found that prospect. In PeopleSoft, they have one. It's called the identifier person, right? And then, yeah, here's the capital fund list. So there's some more stuff. And then the angel investors. Lori Hood Lawson does presentations on angel investors and how to find them. Okay, here's some professions. AmLaw 100, medicine, highest earning career ever. Articles on architects, bankers. And then remember, just think about if you're in a nonprofit, you may or may not be in TIAA-CREF. TIAA-CREF is the highest performing long-term fund that I know of with the lowest cost. And anybody who's been teaching for 20 years is a millionaire. Just keep that in mind. Okay, Ruthie sees Business West. Yeah, I miss LexisNexis because I used to look in local papers. Okay. And then this is inspired by the Harvard Development Office, Harvard UDO Research Office, right? And memberships at expensive golf club courses. And I don't think on the website they'll tell you how much it costs to be in that golf club, but you can figure it out. Somebody will tell you. Executive at your top prospect company. This is relationship mapping, right? Screening products, political contributors. I think that we don't do that so much now because there's some kind of law thing going on. Yacht clubs. I actually upgraded somebody to $1 million because I said he owns this yacht. He was racing it the other day. And by the way, his company has this much money, right? Okay. And then lifestyle, right? Okay. Art. By the way, with art, we have NFTs, right? You guys remember my NFT thing? Did I do that for the water cooler chat? And then this is how they do their luxury right now. Now they're not going to do it, right? Somebody, when 2008, when the crash happened, I forget whose politician's wife said, you know, we couldn't ride around in the SUVs anymore because we had to look poor. Okay, and that's what Susan was saying earlier, right? Okay. What do you do with your alerts, right? And do you guys get to nominate prospects? That's a question. Do you get to nominate prospects? Okay, I got a yes. Not yet. Adrian's going to change the world. Okay. The gentleman here in this photo, his name is Joe Butino, and he read the paper all day, every day. He worked for me at Cornell. He served in World War II, graduated from Cornell afterwards, and went to work for the development office. And his job was to read the paper all day. And because he knew so many of the names, he would identify people. We would send condolence notes. Speaking of condolence notes, we would send condolence notes to people. I'm sorry about the loss of your nephew. And he was our there was nothing better than him. So that ruler, you don't see oh yeah, you do see a stapler. I have that stapler. When we had to retire him because of the 2009 crash, I stole a stapler as a memorial to him. Okay, this is extreme Googling, and this comes back to a couple of you were talking about, you know, how do I set up Google? I think it was Elizabeth, right? It was like Deerfield, then I got to read through 300 Deerfields. There's a way to refine it, right? This is the Boolean stuff, right? And so this is Atlanta executive, this is implied and, named or promoted or new, right? So if I said, you know, Deerfield Academy in quotes, both words have to be in the Google search, and then, you know, whatever you're really looking for, right? So here's some promotions, executive transactions. Okay, and now we know that Talkwater might be another service that I'll be using. Okay. I have raged at every screening vendor that they have to add patents, and their answer was two things. One, we can't value them, nonsense. Two, usually the patent goes to the company. So what? If I'm bringing value to my company, they're going to compensate me. So we might just have to offer this, Greg. What do you think? Greg and I, we come up 50 ideas a day.
Coca-Cola freestyle here. It's something I'm not allowed to use anymore. I'm on a low carb diet.
Oh, that's not what I asked for. Poor thing. No, we're gonna have to invent a patent search engine. So here's someone's name and a city. Look at all the stuff that he's been making. You think Coca-Cola doesn't value this employee? Right? And then, of course, he said, oh, I'm going to go over to BMW and make seats, I think is what he makes. Copyright's the same thing, right? Imagine if you had the copyright to the expression, you're fired. How much money would you be making? Copyrights and brands, same thing. So this is a sound recording, Jason William Miller. And look, we have an address and everything. Look at me. Isn't this great? So does this guy have this sound recording? And if I think this is, yeah, diamonds. Right? How do I go find that? And copyrights, if you have an English department, you've got a copyright thing. You've got to do like I mentioned earlier, I'm working with a client who has a drama school. So I have a subscription to IMDb. I look for that college, right? Okay, here's 40 Days to a Joy-Filled Life. They wrote that before the pandemic. And here's, I'm not crossing that out. Here's the seller's rank in books, 17243. This is the Amazon rank for that book. Okay, and we had a lot of discussion on Prospect L a few years ago on how do we figure out how many copies have sold, right? Because you can get the book price, but how do you figure out how many copies have sold? And I think somebody had some ideas. Here's trademarks. Now notice that I couldn't find this brand, so she trademarked the brand, but she didn't get it live. She didn't get it rocking and rolling. And then here's social media. Right, Stopel brags all the time about all the stuff that we're up to because, well, we want you to talk to us about it as well. But we also want the conversation, right? So there's lots of stuff in here. Okay. Okay, that's bankruptcy. Thousands lose food stamps. This is something that I could use for my Atlanta Community Food Bank. Thousands of, notice this article, thousands are losing their food stamps now more than ever, right? Now more than ever, right? And then the LinkedIn, here's a chef. Here's an HMS host guy. When the airlines, when we were not allowed to bring food into the airports, I thought about investing in HMS host. And then here's relationship mapping. And then I'm gonna stop here because it's time to go. Okay, I wanted to talk about more stuff because y'all were quiet. How do you feel? Did you get any good ideas?
Yes, thank you. Some
Thank
good
you.
ideas.
Oh, my pleasure. Okay, good.
Adrian
Well,
says
good.
extreme screening next time.
Yes.
That sounds like a great topic. Yes.
Gayla, what's our topic for July? Do we remember? I don't remember.
I'll look it up. Hold on just 1 second.
I think I'm pawning it off on Ruthie or Greg for July, but I forget. Greg forgets too. There's a lot of things that you can do. The question is what do you want to get started? And then how do you normalize it, right? Because if you're going to have to put in hundreds of thousands of alerts, I forget who said how many alerts I had to put in, was it hundreds of alerts, right? If you have to type those in, you're going to do that. That's your project for the month or 2 months or the quarter, right? And then you'll move on to, I'm going to do some patent searches. I'm going to do some, whatever. And once you do the setup work, I figure out what the script is to go search patents for my people. You can run it over and over and over again. Right? Grow the wheat, then bake the bread, then eat the bread. You get to eat the bread over and over and over again. Questions or comments? Elizabeth said, talk water alerts are even better than Google. Thank you. Oh, sorry, that was a long time ago. So for July, Ruben, I'll come back to your question. For July, the fundraising effectiveness project, we're going to talk about how to use that as a way to understand gifts. So tell your boss to come, especially your annual fund people, to come and take a look at the fundraising effectiveness project and how to use it. The slide deck is not going to be available. I don't think, Gayla, do we make the slide deck available? We don't make the slide deck available. We just have the recording.
We have
Ruben,
the replay. The replay will be up in the next couple of days. And Ruben, you'll get an email when that is available. And then you can kind of fast forward or do whatever.
talk to me about slides that you want. Can I get those slides with a patent thing? Because I can cut those out and ship them to you in a PDF.
Okay.
You know I love to share. Well, thanks so much, everybody. Thanks for coming. People are dropping off. So I appreciate everybody showing up. I hope that we kept your lunch hour interesting.